All right, Bulls and Bears, back with another dose. October 1st, 2024. We got a lot of news, as always, to get caught up on today. Entering the fourth quarter, 2024. Prepare for hell to break loose. It's not just me saying that anymore. More and more people are seeing the writing on the wall. I've been telling you for over a year, be ready for the second half of 2024. We are going to see a wave of inflation like you've never seen before. We're going to show you some charts today. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to show you some data from a previous port strike. That's right. We're going to talk about that here a little bit later in this video. And you're going to see how inflation took off after that strike. And this one could be much worse than the one we only had for about 3 weeks that I'm going to talk about here. So first, if you like what we talk about, please give us a like and subscribe if you're not already. Let's get into it. Very important time, folks, to stay ahead of the financial curve here. Starting right here. Student loans, student loan debtors carrying this debt up into their 70s in many cases, some into their grave, sadly. The Education Department extends deadline for defaulted student loan borrowers to get current. What did I say they're going to do? Continue to kick the can down the road. All the people struggling right now get a lifeline, right? How long can this last? And how long can they keep pretending that this debt doesn't exist? And how long can they keep pretending that people can pay it back? Okay, if they extend it, then what happens after that extension's done? Is there going to be something magical that makes these students then able to make these payments? Is the cost of living coming down? No, they're not even trying to make the cost of living come down. They're trying to make the cost of living go up more slowly. And that's when they tell you that inflation is slowing, but nothing to actually help people be able to pay off this debt. Not just student loan debt, all kinds of debt. People will never pay it off. It's impossible. The port strike, folks, it's happening. I guess I underestimated how foolish the current administration was. Now, some people say that there's nothing they could have did or implemented or intervened with to stop this from happening. But I would have at least tried. Even if you have to pass a bill to give these workers more pay in the meantime to prevent them from going on strike, that's what I think they could have done. All right, so now we're going to see the effects of it. You notice they can pass a spending bill for any type of war, right? Spending bills always get passed for that. But they couldn't spend a bill to pay these workers maybe a few extra months worth of salary or a bump up in their salary for a few months to stop them from striking, right? So I think something could have been done, but it wasn't. So now we're going to feel the effects. And I do think this is going to be just one of the ingredients into massive price increases. And I think we'll even see it this month. And it's going to be by the end of this month, I think you're going to be surprised at where prices are going to end up. And today's the first. Obviously, we're going to keep track of this here and kind of let you know as things go. Approximately 50,000 longshoresmen walked off the job today, all the way from New England down to Texas. This was failing to reach an agreement, right? So no agreement. The strike happened. I've been warning here for months, folks, since the beginning of the year. Look out for the second quarter 2020, or second half rather, 2024. We're in the fourth quarter now, entering. Will it be overtime at the end of the fourth quarter, or will it be game over? We're going to find out here. Folks, yes, I would recommend, and I'm not saying go panic buy canned goods and things from the store. I would recommend at least getting some extra goods, specifically canned goods, because they'll last longer and, of course, on the shelf life. Again, not saying go panic buy stuff. Look at what happened in 2020. People went and panic bought a lot of stuff. Remember the toilet paper panic? And ended up being not quite that bad. And I always err on the side of optimism, right? Many people would say that I'm not. They say I'm doom and gloomish. But folks, look at all the things that I've said that were going to happen, and they're happening now, right? Just like in 2020, we said inflation was going to go up. It's never going to come down. Look what's happened. It hasn't come down. Right? Or I should say the cost of living, because inflation coming down means inflation is slowing. But is the cost of living coming down? Well, not much. We're going to talk about rents. Rents saw a pretty big drop here, which is one area of deflation, which we really need. We also have a record number of apartments being completed. That's going to be coming out here in the next 3 to 6 months. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. Well, let's get into this here. I want to bring up a chart. And this is going to show you a strike that's happened previously. And this was a 7-week port strike in 1977. Let's bring this up here. And this chart is going to reveal 3 inflation waves in the 70s. We see we got up to, at this third one here, up to over 14%, right? Inflation. That is massive. Even this last 2020 through 2022, we only saw a maximum of 9%, folks, 14% at the maximum. And look what happened. This was right after a 3-week port strike. And most of you have probably heard about the inflation / stagflation of the 70s. But what's about to happen could very drastically eclipse this number. And this is just one of the things going to cause inflation. The cutting rates right now, folks, that's just that by itself is wild and insane and very radical in my opinion. We have a lot of mouths to feed, a lot more coming in all the time, not much extra food. Look at all the crops being devastated because of the weird weather patterns. Got this hurricane now, weather patterns continuing to cause a lot of destruction, damage, rising costs of materials and goods. That's going to be much, much worse. Banks still unleashed, still loaning out money. New bank rules taking effect today. Will that help seal some of this inflation? Will it cut off some of the lending? We're going to find out. All right, so we got inflationary versus deflationary forces. We're going to see how this all plays out, folks. A lot of things to keep your eyeballs on. But what do you think about this chart? Pretty amazing here. 3 different inflation waves. And remember, we came off the gold standard in 71, and that's the first thing that unleashed the inflation here. That was right before the second wave. But even before that, we kind of saw a wave going up to 6% annual inflation, right? So what do you think about that, folks? Pretty interesting, I think. Speaking of the pain of cost of living, State Farm expects to shed 1 million homeowner policies in California. The risks are just too much, right? The fires, everything else. Where are these people going to find insurance? And with fewer and fewer options, the companies that are still in California, the insurance companies, what are they going to be doing? Lowering the prices or raising the prices? Right? When there's less competition, what do you do as a business? You raise your prices. If you have the edge, if there's less competition, that means you can charge more. Insurance is about ready to go up a lot in California. And just everywhere you look, it's mostly inflationary scenarios and inflationary events. And that's what we're going to continue to see. And if you haven't seen anything yet, by the time the end of the month gets here, I think we're going to see some massive, shocking things unfold. And I think this debt crisis is really going to hit home this month. And we're about ready to see some shocking things occur. And many agree that we're going to see all hell break loose very, very soon. Let's talk about the recent drop in rents. This is something, folks, that is an economic indicator. Typically, you start seeing rents come down before the actual real estate market and home prices. Why? Because rent is a cash indicator. It lets you know how much cash people actually have to be able to pay these rents. Not how much they can borrow, not how much of a mortgage they can take out because of down payment assistance and all these things and low rates and easy money, but cash available from month to month to pay the rent. So declining rents, very big canary in the coal mine, if you ask me. And we're being told that the savings rate's actually much higher than was originally reported. If you watched me 2 or 3 reports ago, if you didn't watch that, what they did is they massively increased or massively upward revised the amount of savings that the average American has in their accounts. Right? It was under 3%. Now they bumped it up to close to 6%, right? What they did was they included a lot of billionaires now in the average, which really raised the average here. But what's happening with rents paints a completely different picture. And this tells us that people aren't saving more money. They're actually struggling. In the second quarter of this year, Median rent for newly constructed apartments plunged 6.2%. That is the steepest drop in 5 years, folks. A new analyst from Redfin reports more of the same. Multifamily rents are falling. The second steepest drop in 5 years. Second steepest, right? The steepest was in the first quarter of this year. So you can see what's happening this year. It's getting worse. When the third quarter comes out, and we just got done with the third quarter, so we'll probably have the numbers by the end of this month as of what happened in the third quarter. But that was the steepest drop since the first quarter. And we're also seeing a flood of new apartments coming onto the market. And what's going to happen with rents? More apartments, more supply. People are getting more into debt and more unable to pay these high rents. So there's an area of deflation, folks. People say I don't have any good news and I'm full of doom and gloom, right? The naysayers, the trolls, I guess you would call them. There's good news right there, folks. So if anybody is trolling me down in comments, please let them know they're full of you know what. Amazon getting some backlash. Return to office mandate. Huge employer, huge number of workers there. 73% of Amazon employees, because of this back to office mandate, return to office is very unpopular. And so 73% say they're considering looking for another job. Will they be able to find another job that pays as good as Amazon? Massive layoffs continue, folks. 3,000 workers in cost-cutting drive. More signs that there's struggles happening out there in the economy. Of course, a lot of people will point to the theft, the retail theft. Why is it increasing so much? It's because of the poverty, folks. Why are people going on strike? Why are the port workers going on strike? Because of the cost of living / inflation, right? People are having a very difficult time right now. What are these workers going to do? How are they going to get by? Some people are saying this is just going to last a couple weeks. I hope so. If not, though, look out, folks, because the inflation that we've seen so far is going to be like nothing compared to what we're about to see. On top of that, we have the global reserve status of the dollar continuing to decline at a faster pace. Status of the U.S. dollar as global reserve currency shares just dropped to the lowest since 1995. Central banks diversifying now with gold. We all know what's happening with gold and silver, folks. It's going up. It's going up a lot. And when this whole thing plays out, and when the inflationary collapse hits, inflationary collapse would be worse. Deflationary collapse would actually be better. Either scenario, though, when this plays out, it's going to be very, very bad, but not forever, right? The grass will be greener on the other side. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a rainbow at the end of the storm. Maybe even a pot of gold. No pun intended. All right, folks, so get ready. Keep stacking both canned goods and both real money. My favorite is silver. Let me know what you think about all this down below. And we'll see everybody very soon. Keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.